Hey everybody, Slayer Holfen here, back for a EGL Season 8 Week 1 uh, team builder analysis and match recap. So, going to be facing Midnite into Tennessee Treeckos. He's in the opposite conference, and so we only play him once this season. So, well, unless we both meet in the finals, but decided I might as well kind of just show all my best sets here because if we end up playing him in the finals, then I'll be happy to be in the finals, and I'll worry about that later. But got a pretty threatening team. Mega Absol, Victini, Stakataka, Whimsicott, Porygon Z, Hitmonlee, Granbull, Zapdos, Milotic, Donphan, and Lurantis. So I first built a team for this matchup, and I built the entire team, and I was looking at it and like, oh wait, I get destroyed by Stakataka. So went back to the drawing board, kind of deleted everything, started the team with Swampert. And Swampert uh, is my Stakataka check. Max HP, max defense, a little bit in special attack. This is so if I get burned by like a Milotic, I can still OHKO with him, the Stakataka with Earth Power, and don't have to worry about a weakened Earthquake. Also, because Stakataka's defense is so high compared to its special defense, hitting it on special side is just better anyhow. Earth Power, and then the only ground resists on his team are Whimsicott and Zapdos and Lurantis. And so I got Toxic to hit all of those like on a switch maybe. Um, and then Stealth Rock is, just this thing is my rocker, and then Resto Chesto to kind of gain some health back later. This thing takes hits really, really well from Stakataka. I think Gyro Ball is doing like, I don't know, around like the 20s, so really nice set. I also got the minus speed and the 28 speed. This is kind of in conjunction with Delmise. This means that I outpace no speed Donphan. I just outspeed it, and I've got the same speed as Delmise, so I'll kind of explain that a little bit more when I get to Delmise, but it's basically to kind of see if he's running any speed on his Donphan, so I don't have to risk anything with Delmise later. If Stakataka doesn't come, then this thing is kind of freed up to just do more of whatever it wants. I really need this around for Stakataka, but if that thing doesn't come, I can just kind of lead with this, set up Stealth Rocks, and kind of play a little bit more liberally with it. Not worry as much about like Zapdos packing HP, grass, and stuff like that. So that's oh, also damp because I don't need Torrent. So yeah, I guess like if he brings Explosion, then maybe I can be like, oh yeah, that was the plan. But really, just because why bring Torrent when I don't have Water Stab? So next up, we got Iroh or Arcanine. Oh, Howland Reed. Those Game of Thrones, or maybe more Song Ice and Fire fans will maybe recognize that. Avatar fans will recognize Iroh, the Arcanine. This is my Victini response. The speed is so that I can outpace no speed Zapdos, fire off a Toxic, and just put that thing on a timer because Zapdos is potentially very annoying with like Pressure, Sub, Roost, Discharge, and Toxic. It can actually do very well against a lot of my team. Yeah, that little speed and Toxic is nice for that. Toxic is the first thing I click with Arcanine 9 times out of 10. I come in on Victini and I click Toxic to either try to put the Victini on a timer or punish the incoming Milotic, as well as trying to like get it Toxic before a Flame Orb potentially goes up. So Flamethrower is just pretty decent stab. I kind of toyed around with, obviously extreme speed on this thing could be nice to pick out some stuff, but in the end I decided that this is the best set. Toxic for wearing down Victini or the Milotic, Morning Sun for some reliable recovery. Flamethrower is just a nice stab to have, and hit Stakataka harder in case something goes wrong with Swampert. And then Roar. So Roar, I can kind of roar things around if Stealth Rocks are up, as well as if Stakataka comes out on me and Swampert is dead or like really weakened and I can't just switch into that thing. I can just click Roar on his Trick Room And because Trick Room is -7 priority and Roar is only minus, I think, like 3 or something, I actually roar him out before I use this Trick Room, which is kind of cool. So Leftovers is kind of crucial for my spread. So the spread is meant to either be able to take a physical or a special Victini. I don't really take Specs Victini super well, but I've got stuff like Latios that can kind of handle that set, or Assault Vest Delmise, which we'll get to. So this spread, after rocks, I can take two. After rocks and my leftovers, I can take 2 choice banded beak rates. After, if I come in at full and rocks are not up, after leftovers, I can take 2 choice band bolt strikes. If I come in after rocks and my leftovers, I can take timid psychics from a special Victini. So this thing really handles a lot of Victini sets. I think it's set up pretty well to just kind of come in, can reliably recover up, fire off toxics, roar things around, get some chip damage with flamethrower. So I really like this. Played around with flash fire for a while, but in the end I decided that Intimidate was just a lot better for stuff like Mega Absol or even Stack Attacka potentially. Intimidate just was better against the rest of his team, and I could kind of make the set work against Victini without Flashfire, so why not bring Intimidate and have more use for the rest of his team. Next up, Mega Scizor. So Mega Scizor is really nice for the priority. Also, it handles Mega Absol pretty well unless it has Fire Blast. But with our spread, we actually take a Fire Blast from Mega Absol if it's like, unless he's like just special Mega Absol, in which case I'm not sure it might be a roll. We can U-turn on Mega Absol, like take a Fire Blast, U-turn and Oko that thing, and then still have Mega Scizor around with Bullet Punch for the late game if we need it. 2 Bullet Punches also takes out Mega Absol. Bullet Punch is pretty nice for stuff like, a lot of his setup options, Porygon Z, Mega Absol, even does a decent chunk to Stack Attacka. I think, did I say Hitmonlee? Porygon Z and Hitmonlee. As well as being good stab against like Grand Bull and Whimsicott. So definitely got some nice use there with Bullet Punch, and it's just nice to have priority on any team. Roost lets me recover stuff off. Knockoff is usually what I click when this thing first comes in, because Victini can kind of come in, and getting damage off on that thing / getting rid of its item is nice. Knockoff is also just nice for stuff like Zapdos or Milotic, get rid of its Flame Orb. Knockoff, I'd say like Victini is partially, but really Milotic is a big thing too, because Milotic can come in on me and I can knock off its potential Flame Orb and Intoxicate later on in the match. That'd be really nice for kind of my overall game plan. And then U-turn is just nice for getting a little bit of momentum, killing Mega Absol. Yeah, I'd say that. That's the reason for that. 56 speed means I outpace a no speed Milotic, and I also outpace a max speed Adamant Donphan. So just being able to U-turn out on both of those threats and kind of have a fast U-turn to get some chip damage off before I decide what to go into is really nice. I described that. Oh, this also is kind of a good check for it resists Porygon's normal stab, which is kind of nice. So next up we got Latios. Calm Mind, Psychic, Surf, Recover with a Colbur Berry. This Latios at +1 actually does really, really well against his team. His only Psychic resists are Mega Absol, Victini, and there's one other, and Sakataka. So Victini and Sakataka are both weak to water coverage, and Mega Absol is so frail that actually, after a little bit of chip damage, it goes down to a +1 Surf. I think +1 Surf does like 90-something, like minimum 90-something, and I can take its attack with my Colbur Berry. So the idea is to kind of get this in maybe later in the game against like Victini that's a little bit weakened or something, and I can like take a hit from it, Calm Mind up, and then just sweep through the rest of his team. Whimsicott is a little bit annoying because it outspeeds me, and Moonblast is not something I really want to deal with, and I think it can maybe take a Psychic depending on how many boosts I have. I don't know. Right now I've got both Arcanine and Scizor, which are pretty good ways to deal with Whimsicott, so I'm not super worried about that. So I built this team, I put these 4 members together, and then I was kind of looking at it and trying to decide, okay, what else does my team need? And I was looking at it, and I was like, all right, Mega Absol, I have the Cobra Bear on Latios, which is nice, but I don't really have a Dark Switch in, which is not where I want to be. I'm also looking at the team, and I'm like, my Lodic just spamming Skull looks pretty good against me. You know, Latios can kind of take it decently well. Like Latios doesn't mind a lot, but getting burned would be kind of annoying. And like Skull plus Toxic on my Lodic, which is, you know, it's not like crazy to assume that he'd have that. He can just Toxic the Latios, which would really not be fun. And so yeah, Scald is looking pretty good against my team. I also, like I said, don't have a Dark Resist. I have one Rock Resist in Swampert, but like besides that, Stack Attacka is pretty free to just click Rock spam against my attack. And I'm also maybe a little bit weak to like a setup Porygon Z. Hitmonlee, I have Latios as my main like fighting switch in, which is not really where I want to be. So I'm looking at my team and I'm like, you know, I think that would really patch up a lot of these weaknesses is Toxicroak. So Toxicroak lets me just switch into Scald for my Lodic. It can't Toxic me, and I can set up a sub and then Toxic that thing back, or kind of Toxic whatever wants to come in and kind of punish that. Vacuum Wave also, a modest Vacuum Wave does huge damage to both Mega Absol and Stack Attacka, so it really lets me get off big damage against those things. Also does a decent amount of damage to both Hitmonlee and Porygon Z, so it's pretty nice just to have on the team. Toxic Venoshock lets me beat stuff like Milotic and Zapdos in the long run, and I've got a little bit of speed so I can outpace Min Speed Zapdos, because like I said, Min Speed Zapdos with those 4 moves I mentioned before is kind of what I'm worried about most. So both this thing and Arcanine can get a quick Toxic off on that kind of Zapdos if he's interested in bringing it. This thing is mild. Should have been modest, but I originally was going to run kind of like a mixed Toxicroak, and then when I changed the set, I forgot to change his nature, or her nature. I don't think this has a gender. Yeah, so Meek. I guess it's a him, I think, then. But yeah, so that's a Toxicroak set. Basically, give me a better switch into my Lodic, and then kind of abuse that with sub-Toxic and some coverage moves. And Black Sludge to get a little bit of recovery, lets me Toxic more consistently, or sub more consistently throughout the match is pretty nice. And finally, I have no hazard remover on the team, or hazard removal on the team, so Dhelmise is coming with an Assault Vest. It's a special Dhelmise because I didn't want to get burned by my Lodic and then just be crippled. So Giga Drain is really nice against both Donphan and my Lodic. Donphan right now, like, look at Earthquake and look at my team. Look at Earthquake plus knockoff versus my team. It's like Earthquake hits everything except for Latios and Dhelmise, which knockoff hits. Swampert can kind of deal with Donphan, although it does get Seed Bomb. I don't think he'd run that, but I know. Donphan puts in quite a bit of work. So I have speed to outpace a min speed Donphan, and I can Giga Drain, and that does like min, I don't know, it's like in the 70s or something. So it does a lot of damage. So after a little bit of prior damage on Donphan, I can come into this thing and just Giga Drain and kill it. This is why, but my Assault Vest is pretty important to be able to handle stuff like Porygon Z, to be able to take hits better from my Lodic, to be able to switch in on Whimsicott more. So I don't really want to lose my Assault Vest. That's why like Swampert being a good like initial way to handle Donphan and kind of test to see if that 137 speed is going to outpace him is then nice, because then Dhelmise can come in and if Swampert outspeeds, like I know Dhelmise outspeeds, and I can just Giga Drain and knock that thing out after a little bit of chip damage. Shadow Ball is really good to spam against his entire team. Only Porygon Z and Mega Absol resist or are immune. And then Rock Slide is just, in conjunction, like Rock Slide and Shadow Ball together kind of prevent Zapdos from setting up a sub on me for free. Modest just lets me hit really hard, and then HP is just for some bulk. So that's the team. I think now I'm going to switch over to the match. Okay. Here we go. So look at his team. No Stakataka, no Donphan, which is surprising. So Stakataka and Donphan are the only two rock setters on his team. So no rocks from him at all, which is nice. Makes Delmize's job a little bit easier. Doesn't have to rapid spin stuff away. And also no Stakataka means Swampert is a little bit more free to be played risky. So I'm going to go ahead and lead with Swampert, just get up my rocks, because I know he doesn't have spikes or T-spikes at all on his roster, and because neither of his rockers are here, I can just set up rocks right away and kind of pressure him into getting rid of them. Swampert doesn't really mind matching up against like the first four mons. Porygon Z and Whimsicott, like Swampert doesn't really want to deal with, but I can just go Delmize or even maybe like Mega Scizor on either of those. So just going to go ahead and lead Swampert here as he goes for Milotic. And instead of getting up rocks, I don't want this thing to activate a Flame Orb. I'd rather just Toxic it right away. So we're going to trade Toxics here. We do land, which is very nice. And here I'm going to now expect him to go for Scald, and I'm going to go just right out into my Toxicroak. I'll have other opportunities to get rocks up later in the game, but a free switch into Toxicroak right here is pretty nice. So I'm just going to set up a sub. As I know, I want to like make this Milotic show that it can do something for me before I'm scared of anything. So get off a sub, Zapdos comes in. So we're going to fire off the Toxic, and we do outspeed him, so it is my min speed Zapdos. Reveals Heat Wave, so not the set I was scared of. We don't see any pressure, so static Heat Wave Zapdos definitely makes a lot of sense for Mega Scizor, and we're able to get that thing on a Toxic, which is really nice. So that thing and Milotic are both Toxic. If you look at his team, like those are his two biggest like threats from a bulk standpoint, and they're both Toxic, so great way to start off the match. No Heal Bell on his team. I'm feeling pretty good at this point. Get a little bit of recovery back, and now we're just going to go out into Swampert. The fact that it is min speed, or no speed rather, because we outsped with Toxicroak, and has Heat Wave, makes me think it's probably not an offensive Zapdos. Probably doesn't have HP Grass if he's packing Heat Wave. He'll want Electric Stab too. He'll probably want Roost to handle it better, and then either like Defog or Toxic. He could have HP Grass, but I'm thinking probably not at this point. And I can actually take an HP Grass at this point. I can't take HP Grass and Toxic, but just going to set up my Stealth Rocks here as he goes Whimsicott. Whimsicott and Zapdos are the two options for Defog, so I'm just going to go right out into Delmize, thinking not let him Leech Seed, and even if he goes for an attacking move, like I'm Assault Vest, and I can take that pretty easily. So he goes for Defog. As here, he goes for U-Turn, and I'm looking at his team, and I'd like to say that like I thought this out really well and like made the good prediction or whatever, but really I just looked at his team and like, well, Mega Absol is the only Shadow or Ghost switch in, so I'll just click that. And thinking about it now, like since I am Steel Rookie, he probably predicted the Steel move and thought that Victini was a pretty good switch. But we do catch this Victini with the Shadow Ball and do a ton of damage and get the Spadef drop. So really nice for us there. As we go Arcanine, and he V-creates, and this is definitely not Choice Banded, does very little damage. So we take that very well. As we are just gonna, I think, fire off a Toxic here. No, we go Flamethrower, right. So because we take that hit so well from Victini and he's got the drop, I decided Flamethrower is better just to like try to get the damage off on Victini. Clicking Toxic, knowing that Milotic was his best switch in, doesn't really make sense since it's already Toxic. Like, I'd rather click Flamethrower against the Victini, just like potentially knock it out, and I'd rather click it on Milotic because it's already Toxic, so I'd rather just get off the chip. So I click Flamethrower there, get a little bit of lefties back, as we're just going to go Swampert, I believe. Oh, we go Toxicroak, right. So he makes a nice double into Zapdos, so now I can click Heat Wave, but I can really just go like Swampert on this thing. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have HP Grass with how he's played it. Oh, the Heat Wave missed earlier was like unfortunate for him, but it doesn't do too much damage, as you can see. As now, I'm gonna get up my rocks again. He goes Milotic, and I'm gonna take this opportunity to just rest up. The Scald isn't gonna be doing a lot to me or enough to knock me out. As he reveals Dragon Pulse, so definitely makes sense to hit Latios. Also, I'm checking, and it breaks my Toxicroak sub, so that's something to keep in mind. Resto Chesto, I'm going to go out into Toxicroak now, expecting probably either recover or a Toxic maybe on his part. So I'm just going to set up a sub here, I think. Yeah, set up a sub as he goes Zapdos. And I'm behind a sub. This thing is already toxic. I'm free to just fire off some Venoshock. So fire off a Venoshock, and you're going to see that this does some pretty good damage. 37, so that's pretty nice. He tries to roost, but with a toxic, this isn't really a winning battle for him. So fire off another Venoshock here. So he goes Heat Wave and kills my sub. And make maybe a little bit of a misplay here. I go for sub thinking maybe he'll want to roost or switch out or something. As he just goes Heat Wave and breaks my sub and he dies to toxic damage. So I could have been sitting at full, instead I'm sitting at 75%, so probably a little bit of a dumb move on my part. Now, Whimsicott can't have Psychic, and Toxicroak comes in on Milotic still. Even with Dragon Pulse breaking my sub, like, it's still nice to have. And Vacuum Wave in the back for Porygon Z and Absol is really nice to have, so I'm not going to risk this here. I'm going to Scout, go out to Delmise, as he just gets rid of rocks. It's fine now. Since I went Shadow Ball last time, this time I am going to go for a Giga Drain. So he goes out into Porygon Z, we get off the Giga Drain, and that does nothing. So I'm looking and, like, this thing is either max HP, max Spadef, or it is Assault Vest. So I'm pretty sure this is Assault Vest. And the Ice Beam reveals that it does a ton of damage. That's like max special attack. So he's either like Assault Vest max special attack or like max special defense and like Specs or Expert Belt or something like that. So yeah, bulkier set that's going to still hit hard as we get the crit, which is unfortunate for him. I don't think it really ends up affecting much of how the game plays out. I think that he couldn't actually kill me with the Ice Beam even if I didn't get the crit, so I think this actually works out pretty similar, besides the fact that he's just a little bit of lower health. But I can go into Mega Scizor, and Bullet Punch is doing quite a bit. I don't think the crit really mattered in that standpoint. I thought about going out into Mega Scizor on the Ice Beam, his final Ice Beam, to live a hit, preserve differential, have Delmise as a sack in case I needed it later in the game. But I really was like, well, if he's Assault Vest, most likely he has Hidden Power Fire, and like he could pretty easily click Hidden Power Fire against my Delmise sitting at 28%. So maybe it would be a roll, but I think that was a... No, I don't think it was a roll. I think he just knocked me out. And he could catch my Scizor before it's Mega'd and do a lot of damage or knock me out, so that's not really something I want to do. So thought it's safer to just sack the Delmise. So now I got up to Scizor. No reason to not click Bullet Punch here. As if he goes Victini, that's damage. I might 2-hit KO. If he goes Milotic, we can get a fast U-turn out on it. So he goes Absol. Now, this kind of screens Fire Blast. Like I said, I do live one Fire Blast unless he's like a weird special Mega Absol. So could U-turn and knock this thing out. But if he crits Fire Blast, then I'm in a little bit of a tricky position. I think I still win, but it's just not great. So I'm just going to Bullet Punch here. It's a 2-hit KO, and it's just much safer because I get the guaranteed damage. A crit Fire Blast definitely would have taken me out, and then I can't really revenge easily with anything. I guess I could go out to like Mega Swampert, but I don't know, I feel like Bullet Punch is just a safer play. It's a nice 2-hit KO. As he reveals a Sucker Punch, so it takes me out, so didn't really think about Sucker Punch on that play. I definitely thought about it when I was prepping for team, but in that moment just kind of didn't didn't think of that. A good play on his part, as I'm just free to go out here and click Vacuum Wave now against this Milotic. As I'm just going to sub up on this thing. It's got Dragon Pulse, but I lose less health by clicking sub than I do from taking a Dragon Pulse. Let the Toxic wear this Milotic down a little bit. As now I want to make sure I keep my Toxicroak in with enough health to live a crit Sucker Punch from Mega Absol in the back. So I'm just going to go out to Swampert here, take the Dragon Pulse, and now thinking he'll go for Scald or a Toxic. I'll go back out into Toxicroak as he does go for a Toxic, and that doesn't do anything. I get a little bit of recovery, and now I can just fire off a Venoshock, which is pretty free at this point. As now he's going to go out into Whimsicott. At this point, he didn't go for the Psychic beforehand. I'm thinking that he probably doesn't have it because looking at his team, like Energy Ball and Moonblast are kind of required to like beat Swampert and Latios. Um, and I really think that he doesn't have that, so it's kind of a risk maybe that he has Psychic and kills me here. Um, but at this point, I'm feeling pretty decent about my ability to handle Mega Absol in the back. I have Surf on Latios with a Colbert Berry, so I think that's fine. So just going to go for the Venoshock here as he reveals Sunny Day. Um, so Victini's going to be hitting really hard. Toxicroak, that goes down. And the Dry Skin, we actually lose health, which is kind of funny. Goes Victini. No reason to not go out to Arcanine here. We take this super well, even in the sun. It's a 3-hit KO, so this can Morning Sun back up. As after the second one, I'm like, oh, okay, now he's at minus speed. We definitely outspeed. But I kind of like maybe I'm kind of dumb here and like don't realize that he's Choice Scarf, which I definitely like thought earlier in the match and then completely forgot about. So Flamethrower takes it out regardless though, and at the health we're at, we actually are out of range of like even knockoff crit at this point. So it knocks us off, but we just go for a safe Flamethrower, kill the Absol, and that's a good game to Midnite. Pick up a nice win week one. Definitely felt like I prepared pretty well and was able to pick up the win. So I think I played this game pretty well. Maybe could have played a little bit better with like the Delmise and Scissor and tried to preserve differential, but I feel like I made the safe play that just like guaranteed the win, and so I'm pretty happy with how I played it overall. Could have played a little bit riskier, but he definitely could have punished that. So glad with how I played it. Glad to get a win early on. And next week we'll be taking on Prof, who is our division rival. So that'll be a good match. Prof and I have a little bit of a history. I think that we've played 5 times, and we have won 3, and he's won 2. But I know there have been some pretty like I know he was the first person I ever played in like Pokemon leagues, and like I reverse sweeped him with a Mega Pinsir because his Cresselia got paralyzed, and then like we met in playoffs that year, and he 6-0'd me with a Manaphy, and then I 6-0'd him in season 2, and then we split games in season 3. This is all PBL, so Prof and I definitely like have swept each other before, and both of us are pretty good players. And the matches are always fun. So, and we always are like, maybe this time it'll be like a match where it's actually just kind of a good match and like a close match, and like someone doesn't just destroy the other person. But even in like season 3, I think they were both like 5 or 4-0 victories. So hopefully it's actually a good match between Prof and I, like a nice close 1 or 2-0 this time when we play him. But it's funny that even though we're both pretty good, it seems like one person always just kind of blows out the other person. So hopefully we can avoid that trend. It's got a very threatening team, but I don't want to talk about that too much because that's week 2 and this is a week 1 video. So hope to see you back for that. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks. See you later. Bye.